What are some good herbs to grow in this area in our garden that we can use for tea?
Well, some really easy ones to start with would probably be chamomile and calendula.
Okay, chamomile is
A small white flower, has been known to be used for lots of different things. It's a really nice relaxing herb and generally is used in tea. You can also infuse it in oil like what we did today. And calendula, same thing. It's a flower and it's yellow or orange. Very beautiful. So even if you don't end up using it for medicine, it's great to have in your garden. And the chamomile will kind of self-seed itself. So once you've got it, it comes back. And calendula is an annual. So you're going to have to start it from seed, maybe purchase some transplants. Those would require a little more care, but they give and give and give once you've got them established.
How would you harvest those two types of plants?
For calendula and chamomile, generally we're just using the flowers. So literally you get to go in your garden and just pop the little flower heads off. It's a little tedious, but I mean, who doesn't want to hang out in the garden and pick flowers? So you're going to pick your flower heads and then you're going to let them dry. I prefer to use a dehydrator. It's kind of like a food dehydrator just because it decreases the amount of time that I'm letting my plants sit out. For me, the quicker I can get them preserved, the more that I know I'm retaining in the plants. Some people will actually dehydrate them in the oven on a very, very low setting on some screens.
And are they doing the same thing we talked about with the salve, trying to reduce the amount of water content so that will mold grow on them at any time?
Exactly. So if you have them fully dried, you'll be able to put them in a bag and they won't mold. Now you could pick them and put them straight into your oil fresh. And again, you're going to get some really nice, rich oil from that. If you want to be sure you don't have to, move it around every day and release those little air or water bubbles, then you can do it dry. And I find both of those plants, the calendula and the chamomile, do well both dry and fresh. And if you do dry them, they're going to last up to a year, and you can use them in tea.
And in the winter months, like we're in right now, that's always a nice treat to be able to use something from the garden.
It is, yeah.
But you can use those fresh or dried in a tea?
Mm-hmm.
Do they taste equally the same if they're dried or fresh?
Well, it depends. So if you take a teaspoon of dry or a teaspoon of fresh, the teaspoon of dry is much more concentrated. You're going to have a maybe more bitter tea. But fresh is always preferable. The only reason we have dry teas is because that's how they last well. Not all of us have, somehow indoor greenhouses and have flowers growing. So in the summer, if you get the chance, go ahead, use fresh plants. Go ahead, throw fresh leaves, fresh flowers right in that warm or hot water. You could also do a cold brew if it's the summer. So one thing I love to do if I'm in the garden, I'll go ahead and bring a big mason jar with me and I'll pick a whole bunch of different things, put it in there, and I'll put cold water in, and I'll just let it infuse either in my house, or you can put it in the sun, capped, for 6 to 8 hours, and you'll have a really nice sun infusion tea.
Oh, sure. The sun teas that people make with black teas, same thing.
Exactly.
Just different flavor.
Yeah, there's so many different things you can do with the plants. You really can't do it wrong. Again, if you make one of those infusions, you're going to want to refrigerate it if you're not going to drink all of it. And in the fridge, it will last up to 3 days.
Any other plant that we see a lot of around here that most people don't think of that we can throw in a tea?
Most definitely. So I brought a few plants with me today, and one of them is motherwort. And I recently held a class on this plant. We did a yoga class and we made tea and enjoyed this plant. It's in the mint family. You can maybe perhaps see the stems. It's got little flowers. It grows everywhere here. Funny thing is, I tried to start it from seed not knowing this. I was having a lot of difficulty with it, and ironically, I was actually weeding it from other parts of my garden, not knowing that's what it was coming up wild.
So what are some of the properties of this herb and in our tea, and how much maybe we should put in our tea?
So if I were making a cup of tea for myself, this is a pretty strong herb. It is in the mint family, but it's a little bitter. And generally I find people use almost a little too much plant material in their teas. A little bit goes a long way. If I were to make just a cup for myself, here, I'll take that one too. This would be perfect for a cup for myself, right here.
That almost looks like maybe 3 leaves.
Yeah, 3 leaves. And this is such a wonderful plant, and I love that it grows everywhere. Its Latin name is Leonaris cardiaca, which basically means lion's heart.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so you can guess from the name that it's used or has been known to be used for heart strengthening. And I came to using this plant actually for another reason. So both it helps the heart and stress that sort of wears on the heart, especially stress that comes from worrying. Hence the name is motherwort.
Okay.
Medicine for worrying mothers. You know, if there's something to worry about, they're worrying about it. So this plant in particular kind of helps you stop that cyclical, worrisome thinking, helps you come back to your center, heart medicine, right? So it's great at the end of the day. If you need to relax, if you need to get to sleep, you got a lot to do, you got people you take care of, people you worry about. This is a wonderful, beautiful plant to get to know. Again, it's everywhere.
Start out with just a couple leaves, I would say.
Just a couple leaves. And again, this is a little bitter, so on its own, I definitely add honey. You could add other mint leaves to it, even your chamomile. If you're going for a soothing effect at night, chamomile motherwort tea would be so lovely.